We are good.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the Pittsburgh Board of Education meeting and ask for everybody to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If I could please get a motion to approve the agenda. A second? Thanks, Robin. Any edits?
Ted, if we could just add, we have one additional extension of board appreciation that I'd like to add after Pittsburgh Pride.
Okay, as amended, all those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries. With that, we move along to one of my favorite nights of the year, and I believe we have some people out in the audience that are looking forward to some awards tonight. So Superintendent Pirro, if you would, take us through Pittsburgh Pride.
One of the best days of the year is right now. The best. This is the best audience in the world because we all are in the midst of amazing young students. And so I'd like to welcome all of you to our Pittsburgh Pride. I want to emphasize my gratitude to our principals and our nominating staff members that are here tonight, family, friends, special guests for being here. But most importantly, I want to say thank you to our recipients for going out of your way to make the lives of those around you better. You have exemplified exceptional citizenship and character, which is why you're here tonight. Tonight's ceremony will be shared on our district website and on our YouTube channel. So here's what's super cool about this. Really, really super cool. One of our students, can you tell me how many students you think we have in the district about? Anyone? Anyone? About? Go for it.
Maybe like 2,000 or something?
2,000 or something, that's a good guess. So we have almost 6,000 students in the district. And of 6,000 students, during the course of this year, we will recognize 27 for this recognition. So you are, what's that percentage? What's 27? Anyone? It's like the Powerball chances. So it's a real special recognition because there's people that really think highly of all the good that you do in your schools and in your community, and want to use tonight to appreciate you and to respect all the work that you're doing and all the good that you do for everyone around you. So I want to just talk a little bit more about how this works. Each building is tasked with seeking out individuals that they felt exemplified citizenship, and they had to talk about why. Then a building level committee convenes and selects the one candidate to be recognized, which you can imagine is really hard. So you went through a process to get here tonight. So people saw the amazing work that you do. They advocated on your behalf, and now you're here to be recognized by the Board of Education and by YouTube. So beyond tonight's recognition, our students will also be recognized in a lot of different ways based on where they go to school. So that can range from a bulletin board to morning announcements, to having their name on a plaque, or working with their principal to decide on a special privilege or a gift that can range from free time to a parking pass, spirit wear, being a class helper, to being a speaker to other classes. So there's a pretty wide gamut of other ways you'll be recognized. Parents and guardians, if you read the small print on the Pittsburgh Pride, if you are elementary, middle school, you're responsible for taking your child to Disney. High school, it's a car. So you can thank your parents and guardians after for all of that. So just to talk about tonight's process and how it's going to work. So we're going to call out your name, and we ask that you just stand when we call out your name. When you're standing, we're going to read what was written about you. You don't have to respond or anything like that. Just stand and listen and appreciate all the words that are being shared about you, and really try to take them in because you deserve to be recognized for all the great that you've done. When we're done reading yours, you'll have a seat, and we'll keep going through until we've read all 9 recipients. When we're done with all 9, we're going to give a big round of applause for all 9. And then we're going to have all 9 recipients get their plaques. We also have the recipients' letters that are typed and in some sort of protective gear for you. And we're going to ask you to come back and take a picture with all of us. At that point, family, guardians, friends, you're more than welcome to come up and take as many pictures as you'd like. We'll take the pictures as well and put them on our website. Our board president, Ted Aresti, will read the first 3 recipients, followed by our vice president, Robin Scott, and I will read the final 3. So I'm so excited. All of you should be so excited. We're going to get this started with welcoming our president, Ted Aresti.
Good evening, everybody. I'm excited to be up here. This is a special night. First recipient tonight is Charlie Archer. Charlie, where are you? Hi, Charlie. You ready to hear about yourself? Sure. All right, here we go. Well, first let me say Charlie is a 5th grader at Thornell Road, and he was nominated by Ms. Lachowski and Mr. Foote. Every Thursday at Thornell Road Elementary School, the students are reminded to live the Thornell way. The Thornell way means students are doing their absolute best to be respectful, responsible, fair, trustworthy, and caring, especially when no one is watching. Charlie Archer is an outstanding role model and leader when it comes to living these words each day. Therefore, I believe that he makes an excellent recipient of the Pittsburgh Pride Good Citizenship Award. Since the first day of 5th grade, Charlie has stood out as a wonderful friend and classmate to others. Many of his peers seem to gravitate towards his charismatic personality and hardworking demeanor. You can tell they really look up to him as well. He is enthusiastic, caring, polite, and inclusive. In the classroom, he is eager to learn, helpful to others, and participates thoughtfully in discussions. His smile brightens up our room, and he approaches every school day with a positive attitude. Another thing that I admire about Charlie is how optimistic he is, and that he is always thinking of others. When working in groups, he leads discussions, but goes out of his way to make sure that everyone is heard. He has a way of making everyone around him feel special and valued. His love for school and learning is contagious. Charlie is an avid reader and writer and hopes to become an author one day. He even had one of his stories featured in our school library. At school, he sings in the chorus, plays trumpet, and is a safety monitor. Outside of school, he is involved in Cub Scouts, plays tennis, and takes piano lessons, and participates in summer enrichment plays through our school district. This summer, Charlie even spent one of his days off welcoming new students and families to Thornell. I continue to be impressed by all the ways Charlie lives the Thornell Road way. He is truly an exceptional model and citizen of our school community. I'm so very proud to be his teacher and cannot wait to see all the amazing things he accomplishes one day, especially his first published book. Congratulations, Charlie. Next up is Cornelia Crumley. Cornelia, where are you?
Oh, hi.
How are you? I am well. Cornelia is a 12th grader at Sutherland High School, and she was nominated by Ms. Drake and Mr. Puma. It is with great pleasure that the Sutherland High School administrator and counseling team nominates Cornelia Crumley for the Pittsburgh Pride recognition. Cornelia is a very kind, smart, thoughtful member of the Sutherland community who possesses all of the characteristics of a good citizen and outstanding person. Cornelia is a proven leader. This year, she is president of the student body, and her responsibilities include facilitating and running all council meetings. She ensures that all 4 grade levels She ensures that all 4 grade level leaders understand and can successfully fulfill their responsibilities. She is the voice for the student body, representing Sutherland at parent and principal meetings. Her ability to articulate thoughts is exceptional, as she effectively and clearly communicates in small group settings, as well as large-scale school events. She embodies the creativity, organizational, and problem-solving skills needed to partner with staff and lead our students. She makes an impact at Sutherland by inspiring the student body, increasing school spirit, and fostering unity. Cornelia is a Girl Scout and has fully embraced the leadership skills she gained through scouting. She is working on her Gold Award. The final project is creating and teaching workshop for girls on coding and programming, as she wants to inspire girls to consider STEM fields and careers. That's impressive. Through scouting, she has yet again positively impacted the lives of others. Cornelia is compassionate and empathetic listener. Her friends seek her out whenever they need someone to lean on. She is mature beyond her years, which includes a strong intuition that allows her to provide the kind of support that helps others through tough times. We can all learn from Cornelia. She is optimistic and chooses to focus on the positive. It is without question that she will continue to have a profound impact on those around her, and we are very proud to call her a Sutherland Knight. Congratulations, Cornelia. My third and final candidate tonight is Annabelle Lincoln. Annabelle, where are you? Hello. Annabelle is a 5th grader at Jefferson Road, and she was nominated by Miss Kakinda, Miss Wyman, and Miss Roberts. Recently, when Annie's partner for a writing assignment was getting down on himself, she was overheard giving him the most genuine pep talk. It was something to the effect of, "We're just learning how to do this for the first time, so we have to build up our skills. You can't be bad at it." When another student asked me to help them read a complicated schedule for orchestra lessons, Annie happened to be standing by and cheerfully offered, "I can teach you how it works." This compassion and sincere interest in helping others is a daily reminder for us all to be our best, do our best, and make a difference in the world. Earlier this year, when we needed help with morning announcements at the last minute, we knew Annie would be not only willing, but very capable of helping to fill in. Hearing her lively voice over the speakers honestly puts a smile on your face. Annie always wants to help other kids, always willing to take a risk. She is really intelligent, but very humble about it. She puts others before herself, no matter if it's someone she is friends with or just a peer. She does this in a way where she does not put herself last, but in a way that she is taking care of her needs while also being there for others. From the start of 4th grade, Annie was a well-respected member of our 4th grade classroom. Day in and out, Annie was a role model for her peers. She modeled hard work, kindness, willingness to help, and graciousness to learn from her mistakes. She is always willing to lend a helping hand to a peer or an adult in need. Annie has often shared with her peers and the adults working with her love of sports. From softball to running, she takes the initiative to practice on her own to improve her skills. Annie strives to better herself in and out of the classroom. She is a well-rounded young girl who brightens every room she enters. As a 5th grader, Annie remains a role model for her peers. We are truly grateful to have Annie as a member of the Jefferson Road Elementary community. Congratulations, Annie. Next up is Vice President Robin Scott.
Good evening, all. Our 4th student being recognized is Hudson McCutcheon. Can you please stand? Hudson is a 2nd grader at Allen Creek Elementary, and he was nominated by Ms. Kim. This is what she has to say. It is my absolute pleasure to recommend Hudson for the Pittsburgh Pride Citizenship Award. Hudson embodies all of the qualities that are deserving of this recognition. From this very start of the year, Hudson stood out to me as being a role model to his peers. From the first day and every day after, he has shown up to school with a positive attitude that is contagious. He possesses all of the qualities of a student any teacher would love to have in their class. Hudson is welcoming each day and shows up with a smile that radiates to his peers. He is an eager learner who has growth mindset, is hardworking, and enjoys helping others. When Hudson is working on a learning task, he always gives his best effort and he works through any challenges. He understands when to ask for help and also helps his peers. Hudson's use of student voice to support his classmates makes a significant impact on our classroom environment. With his voice, he is able to build strong relationships with peers and a team. When Hudson sees a classmate working to solve a problem in front of the class, he cheers them on with encouraging words. The motivation Hudson gives influences the whole class to cheer on their peers. His use of voice gives his peers the confidence they need to persevere through challenges. His encouragement, reflective voice, and positive attitude helps our class, including me, to do our best and be our best. Our classroom community and school thrives with Hudson as a role model and true team player. He embodies Allen Creek's core values. In his everyday interactions, solves problems with confidence and never backs down from an academic challenge. I am confident Hudson will continue to be a leader as he moves forward in his educational career. I recommend Hudson for the Pittsburgh Pride Citizenship Award without any reservations. The next student being honored is Natalie Murray. Can you please stand for Natalie? Natalie is a 7th grader from Barker Road Middle School. She had a team nominating her that included Mrs. Hogan, Mrs. Deedle, Ms. Brown, and Mr. Sagittella. Natalie is a force of nature. Barker Road Middle School is so very fortunate to have Natalie as a student. She is motivated and conscientious with an unstoppable work ethic. This year, Natalie is a member of the A Team, which is part of the Web Leader program. She fulfills her responsibilities with enthusiasm. As a student, Natalie is determined to do well, and she seems to have boundless energy. She completes her assignments on time and spends extra time to prepare for all assessments. Natalie's determination and perseverance are unwavering, but it is her kindness to others that stands out even more. Natalie is a quiet leader who encourages others when they are frustrated. She is quick to say hello to people in the hallways and always has a smile on her face. Natalie supports all students in the building and ensures peers are included both in school and outside of school. She will advocate for herself and on behalf of others. Doing what is right just seems to come naturally for Natalie. She defines dignity and respect in her everyday living, whether it's stopping to help someone who has dropped their materials, lending materials to a classmate, checking in on a peer, or sitting at the lunch table with a student who may be sitting alone. Natalie has a knack for knowing how to make people feel included and valued. She easily engages and builds connections with adults as well. Natalie is a helpful and supportive member of the classroom. She is quick to offer support and assistance to adults, often unprompted. One of the most impressive parts of all of this is that Natalie does these things in a quiet, gentle, unassuming manner. There is no fanfare, just kindness shared with others. She is a perfect candidate for for an award recognizing good citizenship. Natalie embodies all of the core principles valued at Barker Road Middle School. Congratulations. Our next student being honored is Gianna Petralia. Can you please stand, Gianna? Gianna is a 7th grader at Calkins Road Middle School, and she has a team of people nominating her also. Mrs. Wolchik, Mrs. Page, Mrs. Latini, Mrs. O'Shea, Mrs. Maury, and Mrs. Daniels. These are the kind words they have to say about you. It is our pleasure to honor Gianna Petralia with the Pittsburgh Pride Award for Calkins Road Middle School. Gigi is a genuinely kind person who is friendly and caring to all students and adults. Gianna makes the effort to connect individually with teachers just to check in, and her smile brightens everyone's day. She has a sincere and open heart and always asks others how they are doing. As a student, Gigi is responsible and determined. She is diligent about completing her work, and when absent, is sure to make up any missed assignments. Gigi cares deeply about doing well academically, and her grades show these efforts. Gigi is a member of our chorus and arrives each day with a happy heart and ready to sing. In chorus, she also reaches out to help other students as needed, and her enthusiasm carries over to many others in the chorus. In addition to chorus, Gianna is involved in numerous activities both during and after school. Gigi has been an office helper for both 6th and 7th grade. She is always able to recognize the cues of those in need, often with small acts that make a big difference. As an office helper, her kindness and enthusiasm are contagious. Gianna always has a smile on her face and is always willing to help out. She delivers notes to students with messages from the main office, counselors, and parents, and then heads over to the health office to help wipe down cots and make ice bags. When we have a special project that needs some student assistance, Gigi is the go-to person. We know she will complete any task asked of her in the office diligently. Gigi has the maturity of a much older student, and we can trust her to navigate through the offices and throughout the building to complete tasks in a responsible and respectful manner. Gigi is also a member of our student council. When the student council began organizing a food drive, Gigi was quick to suggest helping people to get ready for the Thanksgiving holiday. Gigi also was the driving force in getting a dance club created here at CRMS. At the end of 6th grade, she met with our principal and a teacher to begin organizing the club, and the club is up and running this year. Gianna Petralia is simply an amazing person. She takes opportunities to connect with and compliment to help others. She is a shining example of our midnight way of creativity, resiliency, mindfulness, and spiritedness. Congratulations, Gianna.
Gianna, I was just informed that, and I was just sharing with my assistant, literally I was just informed, we're gonna have 50 people over for Thanksgiving. I may need some help with organizing, and I need help with that. If you can help, I'd appreciate that very much. Okay, we're gonna continue. For those that have children that are 5 and under that wanna run around, feel free to let them run around. I remember those days. They're doing amazing. They are doing amazing. It is my pleasure to introduce Gianni Root, 5th grader from Park Road. Please stand. Recognized by Mrs. Rojas and Mrs. Bowser. Thank you for being here.
Of course.
Gianni is a student who always strives to do the right thing, academically, behaviorally, and as a student citizen role model. While well regarded and sought out by his peers, he does not strive for popularity. He is that student who is kind and helpful to all and does the right thing when no one is watching. Gianni has shown the skills of a leader by showing responsibility and respect. He has earned a lieutenant position as a safety because of these skills. He arrives each morning, making sure he is on time, and starts by checking in the buses that arrive. He is very dependable and helps his peers, if they need it, in other areas of safety, in any other way. He gets picked up after school every day, but keeps his family waiting, as he told me, "Mr. Rojas, I didn't become a safety to do a half job. I am going to complete my duties." Those words came from Gianni and almost blew me away. A fifth grader already realizing that he accepted a position, he is in leadership, and this job helps the entire school, even more so this year than in years past. We've had a lot of issues. Do we have to bring this up? We've had a lot of issues with our buses. Can you drive a bus for us? Oh, it's not even funny. We've had a lot of issues with our buses, arriving on time and actually at times not coming until much later. Gianni has been helpful through it all. Gianni is respectful and considerate of his classmates. He is always willing to offer his assistance if a peer asks or if a teacher asks for him to help in any way. He will go above and beyond a typical fifth grader. He stands out to us because of his kind heart and his consideration of those he interacts with. We wanted to recognize him for being such a great role model and such a great citizen. In addition, we asked some of his other special area teachers, and they had even more positive comments. Across the board, teachers at Park Road raved about you. Mr. Caparco from Phys Ed stated that Gianni has a positive impact on our class atmosphere. He has the ability to work with anyone, and he's a great classmate. He consistently has a positive attitude and a smile on his face no matter what activity we are doing in class. Mrs. Kemp in music said that Gianni is respectful and kind to all adults and students. He demonstrates leadership, is responsible, and has a good sense of humor. That really wraps it all up. You can see we all feel very strongly about Gianni and his positive attitude. He is a very worthy Pittsburgh Pride recipient. Congratulations, Gianni. Next, we have Natalie Soja, third grader, Mendon Center Elementary. Hi, Natalie.
Hi.
Natalie, who is Ray?
That is my grandpa.
Is your grandpa? So, Natalie, I taught with your grandpa.
Right.
He was a great teacher. Did you know that? Ray Soja, can you stand up? All right, Natalie, here we go. You have good blood. Natalie, Mrs. Emily Harris and Mrs. Sandy Stewart recommended you. Natalie embodies the spirit of Pittsburgh Pride. Even though she is only in third grade, she is wise beyond her years and displays a mature sense of empathy and caring towards others. She has had some challenging life experiences, and while difficult to endure, they have given her an understanding of the preciousness of life. Last year, when her younger sister was hospitalized, Natalie organized an effort to gather cards and decorate her room so that when she returned from medical care, she would have a thoughtful surprise. In fact, throughout her sister's entire medical journey, Natalie has been a support to her family and a positive light for her sister. Natalie also goes above and beyond for people far away. For instance, after the war in Ukraine began last year, Natalie and her friend Charlie began a business where they made and sold breakfast sandwiches on Saturday mornings. Their profits were sent to a local organization to benefit the people of Ukraine. Natalie always puts the needs of others ahead of her own, often finding ways to make a difference and bring a smile to someone's day. When you are around Natalie, she makes you want to be a better person. She is a positive role model and influence. She has been observed exhibiting patience and kindness, both in her classroom and during her special area classes. Whenever it is unstructured time, Natalie always looks for anyone who may be alone and always offers to play. She extends herself to others and is quietly supportive to classmates in need. She is quick with words of inspiration, and has a way of building confidence in those around her. Natalie is selfless. She doesn't have to be first, be showered with lavish praise, or receive accolades to be her best self. She is simply happy to be who she is. Lastly, Natalie perseveres through challenges in and outside the classroom. She works hard in the soccer field and is a gracious teammate. Outside of school, she has enjoyed climbing peaks with her family and has it as a goal to reach 46 peaks someday. We are so proud of Natalie and are lucky to have her gracing the halls of Mendon Center. She is so well deserving of this award. Congratulations. Proud of you. Our last recipient this evening, Emerson Stamp, grade 12, Mendon High School, nominated by a bunch of people. So you were nominated, I don't have my glasses on, by Mr. Coatsworth, Mr. Hyde, Ms. Phillips, Ms. Conlon, Ms. Moses, and Mr. Engler. They all sound familiar? Okay, we're on the same page though. Emerson Stamp is a thoughtful, hardworking, and compassionate student and athlete with remarkable self-awareness. A diligent student, she goes above and beyond the expectations set in class and school to be her best, do her best, and make the world a better place for others around her. A core component of a healthy democracy is literate citizens, and Emerson is a studious learner. Throughout high school, Emerson has challenged herself with a rigorous academic program. It is evident to all that Emerson takes great pride in her learning. Over time, she has developed disciplined study habits and demonstrated a strong work ethic. She regularly rewrites her notes and is attentive to detail. Emerson routinely participates in class, sharing insightful and in-depth thoughts. She challenges other students and teachers' thoughts when in group discussions. Her critical voice and perspective brings the class to a new level of understanding. She is also kind and empathetic to her peers, advocating for herself and for others when she sees a need. Teachers can rely on Emerson to be that cornerstone learner in the classroom, both as a student and as a kind person that others in the class gravitate towards and want to engage with. Emerson is also avidly preparing herself for her future by being involved as much as she can during her time in high school. As a senior, she's a dedicated leader on the Mendon varsity field hockey team, who plays hard and is often one of the loudest voices cheering on her teammates. In addition, she is a member of Sources of Strength, where she coordinates the social media efforts, including sharing information, coordinating with others, and collaborating on events. Emerson's creative and diligent nature makes her a model citizen in all aspects of her life at Mendon, and we are proud to recognize Emerson Stamp as our Pittsburgh Pride recipient. Congratulations. Amazing, right? Amazing. You are also amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So at this point, what I would love for everyone to do is to, all of our recipients, is to follow me over here. And you're going to get your plaque and the beautiful letter that was written about you. And then come behind the board and we're going to take a ton of pictures. Okay? Go for it. Yep, we're going to go right behind here. And at this point, we're going to take a bunch of pictures. You are more than welcome to come up and take as many pictures as you'd like as well. Right over here, maybe just a little bit more right there. Amazing. Congratulations. Well, we're going to get you right here. Make sure your face is showing.
Just turn your picture around, honey. Yeah.
There you go. So make sure your plaques are showing. Yep, facing outward. Okay, this is going to be based on past practice. I'm guessing 75 pictures. Here we go.
doing just like you are, right into the left. Congratulations, and here we go.
Yay!
Is that it? Great job. How about a last applause for a remarkable student? At this point, we're going to take a 2-minute recess. Feel free to stay for the board meeting or feel free to
No one's
Thank you, Jeff. Okay. Any edits? All in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries. Barb, you're all set?
Oh, can I just say one word?
Of course you can.
I just want to apologize for not being able to be here last month at Board of Education recognition meeting. But of course, every day should be Board of Education recognition day, because you do this wonderful job on behalf of all the students of Pittsford, and it's not even a job. It's a 24/7 volunteer position that has everybody in the community always letting you know what they think any time of night or day. And I just want to let you know how proud I am to be a retiree of the Pittsford School District. And on behalf of the retired staff, who I am representing here tonight, I just wanted to thank you for all that you do and let you know how much we appreciate it, and that we're always available if you ever need us for anything. I know it's a little late tonight, so I'll keep it at that. But thank you, thank you, thank you for all that you do on behalf of the students of Pittsburgh. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Barbara, and we appreciate everything that you do. Moving on to Board of Education reports, Monroe County School Boards Association meeting notes or dates are on the schedule here, and I do know, Sarah, that you have a report out from the Legislative Committee.
Hi, yeah, just really quick, wanted to update everyone. I mentioned before that we had a subcommittee from the Legislative Committee that worked on revamping the position papers that the associations have for a number of years. Those were approved just yesterday by the Legislative Committee, and they will move over to the Steering Committee tomorrow. If approved there, they'll go to the executive at the end of the month, and then they'll be ready to use for our Zoom meeting on, we have 2 meetings actually set up on December 5th with our legislators, so looking forward to that one. The one thing I wanted to point out on the position papers is that there's a new one. It's about the electric buses and sustainable transportation. And we've gotten to a point where we realize that there's just a lot more questions than there are answers, so we're satisfied with the paper at the moment, but we know that there's going to be a lot more to that in the coming months, years, up until the mandate in 2035 to switch over to the zero emissions buses. So that one there, and then I did already mention a little bit, but we are set for December 5th for our legislative Zoom meetings. We will have a 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. session for legislators to attend either one. And that's it.
Thank you, Sarah. Did I miss anybody else to report out? Everybody good? Okay. I don't have any other meeting reports at this time, so we'll move to dates to remember. November 10th, I'm sure all the kids know, but just as a reminder, Superintendent's Conference Day, schools will be closed. And then on Friday the 11th, we'll be honoring our veterans, and schools will be closed for Veterans Day. Then on the 23rd and 25th, or through the 25th, we'll be closed for Thanksgiving Day recess. And the 29th is our next regularly scheduled meeting.
Can I just ask us to add 11/21 board retreat?
Thank you.
And that would be 4:30 to 6.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll move on to Mr. Vespi and our financial report.
Okay, for your consideration tonight is the treasurer's report for September. Just in the way of highlights, the interest earning, I mentioned to keep an eye on that, and we're already through 3 months halfway, to budget. So obviously the Fed raised rates another 75 basis points. So we'll continue, as our cash flow comes in with tax collections, we'll continue to really do well in that area in terms of our investments. On that note, it was noted that tax revenues are at $17.2 million thus far, a little bit below the previous year, just slightly below from a percentage standpoint. Revenues are up for school lunch, and I actually reviewed those figures with the food service director today, and we're actually doing pretty well back to pre-pandemic level. So that's positive news. Obviously, the cost of food is higher, but we're short-staffed by about 6 positions, so the cost of labor is down. So that's something that we'll continue to work through. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Can I get a motion on the treasurer report? Thank you, Evan. Thank you, Sarah. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Okay, consideration of the extra classroom activities report. I glanced over the report, little activity thus far in the year.
Okay, a motion on the extracurricular activities report. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Emily. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you.
All right, next is the scrap equipment. It's a carpet extractor that has outlived its useful life at this point.
With that, I'll entertain a motion on the carpet extractor. Thanks, Renee. Thanks, Sarah. Any discussion? Excellent. All those in favor? Any opposed? Goodbye, carpet extractor.
Thank you. All right, the next one is it's a procedural aspect of the budget process, which we kicked off. And so we actually had our memo head out to staff with initial requests, so it's hard to believe that it's upon us, but the budget's a full-time process in a school district. But this is a detailed budget calendar that details some of the internal process that we have in the district. And then I think from a legal liability standpoint, it outlines all of the legal requirements and aspects of the budget process, as we near the March, April, and May timeframe. So it's just more procedural than anything for your review.
Okay. Motion on the budget calendar. David, Jeff, thank you. All those, any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you very much. Human resource report. Oh, sorry, summer work report. Yes, thank you.
We also had the bit of okay, so we're gonna wait. So just a brief discussion outline. You had a chance to review the report. This is an annual report provided from Jeff Beardsley and his staff. Obviously, it highlights the wonderful work that our department does. The facilities are in great shape, and I think this report in particular, is a great summary report. To note 843 work orders and an automated work order system. There's a lot of work that gets done. There's a lot of in-house work. I think in particular, what I noted was the cooperative services that we have with the town and village, and then the preventive maintenance in-house work that our staff is doing, as opposed to shipping equipment out and all the preventative maintenance. So I think there's a lot of experience and knowledge, and I think that bodes well to savings for the taxpayer in terms of the efficiency that our staff is able to demonstrate in this brief report. Some of the other aspects, the asphalt repairs and irrigation activities, you don't normally see that. That's usually something that's contracted out. So again, amazing work from our staff. Jeff also has responsibility of the emergency plans, and his health and safety role, and obviously that comes to for discussion in August, and then it's updated prior to September. So that's we're very, very strong in that area. And then the last thing I'll say is the requirements for water testing continue become more stringent, and there's the notion of the replacement of drinking fountains with filtration, and that's something that it's a real focus for the department, and that they're working towards. So I just think an outstanding job. A lot of the work from the summer capital project has been outlined. We did some roofing work, but a lot of the work, the generator work, is in process and has been delayed, and then will be re-keyed up for next summer. So a lot of the work was local maintenance work, not a lot of capital work, which is fine, and then that work will be scheduled out over the next 2 summers. So there's a nice summary in there of the status of that work.
If I could just add quickly, the dedication of those that work in the operation and maintenance is something that we all should be thankful for. I think it was a week ago, we had a beautiful, actually the last 2 Saturdays have been beautiful. I got a call at 7:30 in the morning. We had another flood at one of our buildings. And we had 10 workers there already fixing the problem. And it's on a beautiful Saturday, and they're there without question. They will do anything to help the district. So hats off to Jeff Beardsley and his staff.
The only thing that I'd add as well is I appreciate this summary report, because it's really easy to look at any one of our buildings and say, wow, it's a lot. But when you aggregate it all together into this report and you look at the square footage or you look at the acreage that our staff is handling, it's monstrous. And they do such an amazing job, and the dedication and commitment behind all of that is truly remarkable. So just if you take that back as well, it's
Definitely
great.
will. That's very, very appreciated.
Thank you. You all set, Mr. Besky?
Yes, sir, that concludes my report.
Outstanding. Moving along to Mr. Clark to the Human Resource Report.
Good evening. First, for your consideration, we have the professional staff report. You'll see 1 certificated staff change in FTE, 2 school-related professional appointments. We have 1 administrator resignation, which I'd just like to highlight. That's Kelly Zelke, who will be transitioning from her role as assistant principal of Mendon High School and assuming her first principalship in a nearby district. So I'd like to congratulate her. We have 1 school-related professional resignation, 1 school-related professional termination, and we also have winter coaching salaries and volunteers for you.
Please entertain a motion for the professional staff report. Jeff? Thank you, May. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you. Next for your consideration is the support staff report. We have 3 school aid resignations, 2 transportation appointments, 2 custodial maintenance appointments, and 2 food service worker resignations.
Thank you. And motion on the support staff report. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Emily. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And moving on to Ms. Ward and the curriculum report.
Good evening. The first item in my section of the agenda is the request for the approval of the data-driven business analysis course that was presented at the last board meeting by Casey Sanderson and Christy Birch.
Outstanding. May I please have a motion on the new course proposal? Thank you, Renee. Thank you, Robin. All those, any discussion? Outstanding. I'll just say that after reading through it and the presentation, I think it looks like an outstanding course and something that will enhance our offering. I'd like to take it. It looks like a lot of fun.
I'll let them know to look for your name on their roster.
Outstanding. With that, all those in favor? Any opposed? Great.
Thank you. Now it is my privilege to share with you the results of the 3 through 8 state assessment data. This is an annual report that I get to share with the board, and it's always a cause for celebration as well as some observations about trends and what to do next. So before I launch into the data, I just want to take a minute to thank Dr. Kimmer and his assistant Rebecca Hyatt for all the work that they do behind the scenes to pull the data and the graphs together. They set me up to look really good in front of you tonight, but know that they've done a lot of the work behind the scenes. So this is just the process that we go through every year. Sometime in August or early September, we finally get the results from the state. We get building aggregate data that we review, and then we get the individual student data. We take a look at that data with our school leaders and our standards leaders and discuss it and look at it for any large-scale program implications as well as implications for a data point when we consider any supports that individual students may need. So a few things to kind of highlight as we look at the data as I go through the report. There's been a lot of talk in the media, particularly the national media, about potential learning loss as a result of COVID. I think it's something we've all been rightfully concerned about. I'm really pleased to be able to share with you tonight as we look at this data from the state assessments, and again, one data point on our students, that we are not seeing evidence of any significant learning loss for our students, particularly in the area of English language arts. We see a little bit of slippage in our math scores when we compare the data from the spring of 2022 to pre-COVID data, and we'll take a look at that and talk about some of our responses to that we've put in place already. Fourth grade science scores stay strong. Eighth grade, we've seen a little bit of slippage there. But overall, as we look at our students' results compared to the students in the region, you'll continue to see that Pittsford students continue to do very well on these assessments. I think a big piece to celebrate behind a lot of this data is the gratefulness that I feel for the opportunity to have had our K-5 students in school every day throughout that year of the pandemic, and it made a significant difference, and I think it's part of the reason that our results look the way that they do. And so we're really knowing all the work that went into making that happen and all of the multiple roles that different staff had to play to make that happen every day. It certainly had a positive impact on our students and their ability to maintain learning, so that's a lot to celebrate. These are just the very holistic overall scores on the assessment, and then we'll start to break them down. Some things to note, though, as the assessments over the years have changed and what's happened relative to COVID. As a reminder, in the 1920 school year, the assessments were not given at all. That's the spring that we were in complete shutdown, and so state assessments were canceled pretty quickly. In the 2021 school year, the assessments were significantly modified. So that was the year that we were in hybrid and remote and temporary learning models. The state, while they did implement the assessments, instead of being the traditional two-day assessments with a combination of multiple choice and open-ended questions, these assessments were all one-day assessments, strictly multiple choice. The practical application of the science assessments were taken away, so they were a completely different sort of assessment. So what you'll see as we go through some of the charts tonight is we've sort of removed that year's worth of data because it's really not comparable to the data that we can look at from the pre-COVID years and then last year. Last year, the 21-22 school year, the tests resumed their pre-COVID format. They went back to the 2 days. They were, again, a combination of the multiple choice and open-ended questions, so they looked much like the tests of old. It is important to note that the data will continue to be challenging to compare year over year as we go forward, though, because this coming spring of 23, will be the first year that the state assessments are aligned with the next generation New York State learning standards versus the Common Core learning standards. It feels like this has been forever in coming. It was delayed because of COVID, and so now finally we will see some changes to the assessments in this spring. We don't anticipate significant changes. The changes that the state made to the standards were not significant in too many ways, but there will be some differences. And also, just of note, I will share with you that this spring our students grades 3 through 8 will all take their ELA assessment on the computer-based setup, and grades 5 through 8 will move to computer-based for math. We don't anticipate that will have any impact on our results, as our neighboring districts have not seen any impact on their results, but just thought I'd mention it while I was here. So our ELA grades 3 through 8, you can see a few years worth of data here. And again, we pulled out the 2021 data, not comparable because of the significantly different testing format. And you can see here as you look at the maroon bars compared to the previous 2 pre-COVID years there, we see some slight decreases in overall proficiency rates for ELA in grades 3, 4, and 8, but an increase in grades 5, 6, and 7. So sometimes you just have to recognize that the test is a little different, the cohorts are a little different, and so you see ups and downs along the way. But nothing that stands out as particularly alarming in any of that data. And then when you look at how our students did on the ELA assessment compared to their peers across the east side of the county, you can see that once again, our students do very, very well, posting proficiency rates that are either the strongest on this side of the county or a close second. And these are the grades 6 through 8 results. countywide, or east side of countywide. Side. We also looked at the scores, the breakdowns in the 4 different levels. So these assessments are scored on, levels 1, 2, 3, and 4. Levels 1 and 2 are considered not meeting proficiency. 3 and 4 meet proficiency, with level 4 being that mastery level. It's not at all unusual at 3rd grade particularly to see significantly more students scoring at a level 3 than a level 4, and then you start to see some evening out. 3rd grade, we've always felt like there are some pieces there around the demands of writing for 3rd graders impact those scores a little bit. Stamina for kids, sometimes the text selection feels like it's a little off for 3rd graders. So that variation in the way the proficiency breaks out at 3rd grade, when I went back and compared previous years, is a pretty similar pattern year over year. And then you can see 6th through 8th grade, same way, percent of kids getting a level 4 versus the others. And then we've included some data for you relative to how our students perform based on racial subgroups and ethnic subgroups. And again, this is just this past year versus the 2019 school year, the pre-COVID year. This is one example of the way our data team has been collecting and sharing out and reporting out data based on all kinds of subgroup disaggregation to help us identify any gaps, begin to think about what the root causes are of those gaps, and be able to address gaps or disparities in performance over various subgroups. And then we can look at the math results, and again, oops, didn't mean to skip over that quite so quickly. You can see we pulled out the 2021 data, here, more than an ELA, I think we're beginning to see a little bit of the impact of the pandemic on our performance, particularly when you look at grades 7 and 8, where you do see some drop-off in proficiency rates on the math assessment. Anticipating that was going to be the case based on some early data that we looked at in the fall of last school year. We have used some of the COVID relief money to put in place some additional math AIS support at both middle schools, targeted specifically at our 7th and 8th graders. Remembering that during the temporary learning model year, our kids in the middle school were only face-to-face with their instructor 2 days out of every week. And when you look at math, probably more than ELA, that has an impact on kids that lack lesser time in front of a math teacher. It's very important. And so we did anticipate it. We've started to try to kind of fill that need already with some of those access to those COVID dollars. But again, we do very well when we look at our results compared to the east side of the county. Really proud of our students' performance, really proud of what this says about our teachers' instruction in this area, particularly given the challenges of the last couple of years. And a reminder here as we look at the Math 8 scores that the students who take algebra in 8th grade are exempted from this Math 8 assessment. So this is only about half of our 8th grade students are even really eligible to sit for the Math 8 test, because the rest of them take the Algebra Regents exam at the end of their 8th grade year. So it's a slightly different population of students taking that assessment. And again, we look at the performance by level. Students performing very well. I love to see those level 4 bars as high as they are there. And again, keeping in mind that 8th grade test is not taken by 50% of the class, that's taking algebra instead. Again, the racial and ethnic breakdown as we continue to think about how our students are performing, what gaps there are, how we close those gaps. And then finally, the science results. And again, our kids do very, very well in the science assessment. There was a drop in 8th grade, which again, I would attribute somewhat to kids missing some face-to-face time with their science teachers. Remembering that the 8th grade science test is actually a test that looks at the science standards grades 5 through 8, so it's a cumulative assessment that is all captured in that 8th grade year. So you did have kiddos taking that assessment last year who had lost some instructional time. We also had some interesting things with some opt-outs on science, which we'll get to in just a minute, which I think explains that a little bit. And you look at our science scores compared to the east side of the county, again, kids doing very, very well. This was the last year of the 4th grade state science assessment. That's been phased out. It will be replaced by a 5th grade science assessment. The kids who are in 4th grade and 5th grade right now will not take a science assessment, a state science assessment, because the 5th graders took it in 4th grade. There's no more 4th grade test. The current 4th graders will take the new test when they're in 5th grade. So there's a little turnover there. So we have 1 year without a state science assessment at the elementary level. And then again, our performance levels there. 8th grade science, again, is not taken by these 8th graders who take the Earth Science Regents exam, the Earth Science Regents course. So it's a smaller population of students who take that assessment, and you can see their performance levels there. And again, the breakdowns by subgroups. And we do continue to track our refusal rates. This obviously was kind of the big news in the story several years ago when it came to state assessments. We continue every year to have families who choose to have their children not take the state assessments, but you can see for the most part that's really dropped off quite a bit with a continued trend that as kids move up in the grade levels, we see more opt-outs taking place. So these are the opt-outs. For the ELA assessment, we get a little bump up in 8th grade math opt-outs. And then this very strange thing happened with the Science 8 this past year. And when I first got this data from Jeff's office, I remember calling Beckett and saying, I feel like that must include the Earth Science kids. Nope, didn't include the Earth Science kids. So I talked to one of the middle school principals about this, Josh Walker, and he said, there was something about this cohort of kids and it kind of took off like wildfire, and the kids just kind of en masse opted out of the science test, which was very unusual because usually the kids enjoy that assessment because there's a whole hands-on component to it. They do very well on it, but there was something about that cohort of kids last spring that just, even up to the very day of the test, were suddenly deciding that they were choosing not to take it. So as always, we review all of this data. We look at the subgroups. We look at even more subgroups than we've shared here. Shared the data with the central office team when it first came out. We looked at it at PDLT. I share it with the standards leaders. And it just leads into a lot of good programmatic conversations. We use the data to help us with some targeted professional development, both kind of wide scale and then what we do in terms of embedded professional learning and learning at individual buildings with grade levels. And we certainly use the data to inform curriculum and district-wide assessment works. And we keep an eye on the state as they continue to change the standards and change the assessments to go with them. And with that, I'll have happy to entertain any questions that you have about the data.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
The demographic breakouts, is that based on an audience or is that student selected?
That's student selected. That's families report when they do the census data, they report their racial identity and their ethnic identity. So it's all self-reported data.
Okay, so it's not individual student reported, it's from the families?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
I have a question. As we start to shift away from Common Core, that's a statewide initiative, every district's going to deal with this lack of comparability. Is there any guidance on how to try and resolve that?
Well, not really, other than to keep in mind that these assessments are always just one data point. So what will happen this spring is the assessments will look just like they've always looked. They'll be the same format that they've always been, but we may see some differing standards being assessed on some of them. And we'll see that particularly in math. That's where some standards got moved around a little bit. So some things, for example, some standards that are currently sitting in the Algebra 1 set of standards may have been moved back up to Algebra 2, which our math teachers are very happy about. Other things got moved down a little bit. So it's really the content that the kids are going to be tested on will shift a little bit. The testing format will stay the same. But the folks that we work with out of BOCES, the assessment arm of BOCES, they're great at working with us on giving us all kinds of behind-the-scenes backup data. I mean, we can go in and we can pull out of the WinnyRick site right now data that tells us how every individual student did on every assessment based on every single standard that was assessed. We can get aggregate, I mean, they've got, the data warehouse is just full of a lot of information. So what I give you here is very, very high level, 30,000 foot view. But BOCES and the Mars Department of BOCES are great at helping us dig in, and they're able to help us. They will be able, when the new assessments come out in the spring, be able to say, these standards were added to the 4th grade assessment. They've never been tested before. These were taken away. Because we get every year, they give us a whole spreadsheet that shows us every question and what standard was assessed, and in the aggregate, over time, they can tell us essentially how many tests over the years each standard has shown up as being assessed. So if you want to get really geeky around the data, you can have a field day. Yeah.
Just one last question, just make sure I understand it. The 2020 data that we excluded, it wasn't because it wasn't even apples and oranges, it was apples and bananas, because they were, the numbers were just so.
I did come to you last year and I shared those results with you.
Right, I remember.
But the test was a completely different format.
Animal.
And when you think about the demands of a student, just take the ELA assessment, for example, the demands on a student for the written portion, the open-ended writing portion versus a multiple choice, they're just very, very different kinds of testing demands. And so it just, they just didn't feel comparable.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Everybody else good? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Melanie. Thanks, John.
Yes, thanks, Jeff.
Ms. Woods in the special education report.
Yes, the committee recommendations are on the consent agenda.
Thank you very much. Mr. Pirro, superintendent's report.
Thank you, Ted. There is a need for an executive session this evening. First regarding proposed litigation, and the second regarding employment of a particular person.
Is there a motion for executive session? Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Emily. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried.
There are several policy approvals for your consideration: suicide prevention and intervention, curriculum development, resources and evaluation, objection to instructional materials and controversial issues. And there's also a policy deletion, which was subsumed in one of the revisions. Wanted to see if there's any questions. It is on the consent agenda.
Everybody good?
Good, okay. So a few thank yous. Thank you to PTSA for the donation of $2,000 for the Sources of Strength program at Sutherland and Mendon High School. Thank you to the PTSA for the donation of $4,000 for cultural arts. Thank you to the PTSA for the super sale, and I believe something along the lines of $50,000 were brought in. And thank you to the PTSA for Light the Loop with the pumpkins during Halloween. That was, I don't know if anyone drove around, but it was amazing to see the excitement around that. So since you're both here, thank you. Thank you to the entire PTSA for helping our district be that much better. Few other announcements. Wishing Kelly Zelke the best of luck. Really excited for her to transition from assistant principal to her first principal job, and we will certainly miss her. And we're always going to be here if she needs any support moving forward. So good luck, Kelly. Transportation. It's interesting that was mentioned in Pittsburgh Pride. It's been really tough. We are short a significant amount of drivers. What we are in the midst of doing, we've contacted 5 different companies ranging from RTS to some other familiar name brands, seeing if they can contribute any drivers or buses or routes. We did settle our bus driver contract, which we're hoping it will help. and we are preparing for a recruitment fair in the very near future. In the meantime, there have been some struggles. There's been canceled buses, there's been some delayed routes, and today there was an issue at the end of the day at Jeff Road where there was a significant delay with a pickup at the end of the day. So know that we recognize that this is an issue and that we're really doing everything that we possibly can to close that gap and to do better with communication and to minimize any kind of inconvenience for families. It's a priority of ours, and we're working daily on that. Thursday of this week is Superintendent's Conference Day. Every building will have a theme of a supportive environment for all, which has been our theme for the year. You will see buildings with working on relationship matching, trusted adult work. You'll see buildings working on student voice, restorative practices, and just a mixture of a lot of different things relative to having a supportive environment for everyone. Friday is Veterans Day, so I did prepare a statement for that I'd like to read. This Friday we recognize Veterans Day. Please take the time to appreciate and recognize those who served today and did so in the past. To remember the sacrifices, the service with honor, the dedication of those who serve and those who love and support them, and to take the extra time to extend your thanks to those who have or are serving their country. It is because of them and their families that we can enjoy the freedoms that we as Americans often take for granted. So happy Veterans Day to those that are currently serving or have served in the past, and to their families as well. I will, actually one last thing, this week is the end of the first marking period, which is crazy. We are 10 weeks under our belt, and by all accounts, the schools are flourishing, the students, the behavior, the energy is right back to where we were pre-COVID, and I could not be prouder of our community, our staff, and our students. So here's to a good first quarter. Thank you.
Thank you. Could I please get a motion on the consent agenda? Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Renee. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Any old business? Any new business? We did not have any submissions for public comment tonight, so we will move to a motion to adjourn. Anyone? Thanks, Robin. Thank you, Emily. All those in favor? Any opposed? Good night, everyone. Thank you.
So Mike and Sean.